Hey everyone, so it's been a while again since I've been here. I think I've been doing reviews on Touch the Fire twice, maybe one every 3 months or so, so I apologize for being so intermittent with them. But I'm here today to do a review on an actually quite old candle that we haven't seen for a while, but is now back in White Barn Candle Company stores. I believe perhaps is a White Barn exclusive, so produced by Bath & Body Works, but only in the White Barn stores. And as I always do, I wanted to give sort of like a historical overview of the candle and the different forms we've seen it in, compare the original to the newest release, and also just give sort of an in-depth review of it, which I've actually never done before in this candle. And it is one of my, I'd say it's got to be top 10 for all Slacken & Co. Bath & Body Works candles. Yeah, it's one of the best out there. Also, of course, shout out to the Bronze Blogger. This is his bay. This is his, I think, number 1 or number 2 in Slacken candles. Only a couple in that top 3 there. And so he's super excited, as I am, that it's back now in White Barns. I imagine it's probably going to be one of those limited release there for a couple of weeks, 1 or 2 shipments, and then gone. So if you want to get it, grab it, because I think it will probably disappear fairly quickly. It's not in one of their major releases. But I wanted to dive in to talk again about what is Black Pepper and Bergamot, the different names it's had. I'm, as anyone with the Bath & Body Works sort of bug for their candles, I think most of us are, if not interested in, or at least affected by the marketing of it, and sort of seeing repackages with a twist, things that come and go. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes there's no explanation for the rhyme or reason behind things, but it's always kind of interesting to sort of look at the market trends and see why they do what they do, which is sometimes explainable and sometimes not. So Black Pepper and Bergamot actually first was released in, well, now I have to check, I believe it was late 2011. Now, a little trick that most people probably know, but maybe not everybody does. Every candle, we're talking back to the old days, with this code here on the bottom, the first number, so the very first number, the very first digit, is the year. So if it has a 1, that means 2011. If it has a 9, it was 2009. 0, 2010. If it has a 6, 2016. And the next 3 digits are the day of the year that it was poured. So this was 2011 on the 223rd day of the year. So you have to, do a little math to figure out exactly when that is, but this puts it towards, like sort of mid-year. So this originally was released in mid-2011. And you can see the name at first was Peruvian Black Pepper and Bergamot. Now this was in a collection. This is right when I was getting interested in test scents, and this was, I believe, it was a test line of about 5 cents. Only 2 ended up going wide. Started with Peruvian Black Pepper and Bergamot, Indian Mahogany and Teakwood, which then turned into, of course, can't get rid of it, Mahogany Teakwood, but it was originally Indian Mahogany and Teakwood. They also had sort of a sandalwood, vanilla. They had a Himalayan chai that was really nice. And there was one more, I cannot remember off the top of my head what it was, but it was like some sort of, I think, incense, maybe like Moroccan kind of feel to it. And they all had this, what I thought at the time was kind of a fun label. It was just like a wood with like kind of an artisanal, like local crafted kind of feel to it, like the hand-painted look on raw wood. What's so interesting about this, what my 2 favorite I purchased from the collection were the Peruvian Black Pepper and Bergamot and the Indian Mahogany Teakwood. Those were the 2 that ended up going wide from that collection, and the other 3 were gone, and they never saw the light of day again. But what is most interesting, I think, about this, I enjoyed that they were really going for, maybe they were going actually for Peruvian black pepper. They were inspired by, scents and things that you find in Peru. And maybe the other candle was inspired by scents and spices and just natural things you find in India. But America can't handle it unless it's Hawaiian, Tahiti, Fiji, tropical paradise kind of stuff, because when it went wide later that year, it went wide actually as Black Pepper and Bergamot. Same label, same everything. This one has a pour date there of 2011, the 326th day. The other one was the 223rd day. So it kind of shows you another, what is that, 80, about 100 days later, 3 months later, it was released. They dropped the Peruvian and they dropped the Indian on the other one as well, which again, interesting. And I've actually burned through that one more than I have this other one. The other funny thing is when I sort of saw that it was had gone wide and then was disappearing, I stocked up at the test store that I used to frequent. And the funny thing was, I was able to grab the Black Pepper Bergamots. It was $8 or $10, something like that. But all the Peruvian Black Pepper Bergamots were 75% off, so I got those for $4 something each. And it's just a funny, almost the exact same label, the same candle, but like half the price of the other one just because it said Peruvian on it, which is just crazy, right? So that was the first release of it. It was decently successful. It was one of the few sort of cologne-y conceptual scents that was out for a long time. That was 2011. Came back in 2012 in just a really bland, ugly label. Didn't really do it justice. You know, their scents fail if the marketing is poor. You know, and if they do a good job on it, a crappy scent can sell millions. Then it came out again, 2013, in a White Barn label with just like, it was like a cup of herbal tea on it. And then we didn't see it again for a while. So it turned into a fall scent from there. So it was out originally again 2011, 12, 13. Didn't see it in 2014. Didn't see it in 2015. And just now, early 2016, we are seeing it back, which is, you know, hallelujah praises per the Bronze Blogger on that one. But wanted to dig deep into what they are. But the other weird thing that most people don't realize is that this candle did make one other appearance with a different name in a different collection. Also did not live to see the light of day. And that was in, if you go all the way back to my very first video, close to, 4 years ago at this point, there was this aromatherapy home collection that I was a huge fan of. I called it the Gold Lid Collection. And they just used descriptors like adjectives or feelings or words, hope, flirt, passion, joy, happiness, comfort, peace, to make these like aromatherapy candles that were gold lid, white wax, sort of these word labels, and it was supposed to, you know, in this sense, black pepper heightens desire. The other was, you know, lavender calms and soothes the mind, things like that. The funny thing is, it's bergamot, black pepper, and rose. The descriptions are different, but this is actually a repackage. This one was from also late in 2011. That says 265th day. So right around the same time that they were taking it wide, they said, okay, we're testing this other line. Let's see if we can do something with this. So if we call it passion, and it's all of a sudden no longer this, you know, big, mean black pepper bergamot brown wax label. But this line failed, so it also never saw the light of day. But the interesting thing, of course, with Bath & Body Works is the notes always seem to change, whether they change in the scent or not. So originally, well, let's see here. The Peruvian and this one here have the exact same notes, so we don't have to look at the difference there, but they described it as an enchanting combination of citrus, spice, and exotic bergamot with fresh black pepper and patchouli. So we're talking some sort of citrus, supposedly, you know, different than the bergamot. Spice, black pepper, and patchouli. So patchouli turns a lot of people off. A lot of people don't know what bergamot is. This is more for visual than anything else. This is not a bergamot. This is actually a little clementine. But a bergamot is essentially, it's a type of citrus fruit very similar to essentially an orange, but a little bit more of like a bitter orange to it. If you've ever had Earl Grey tea, smell that. Earl Grey tea is black tea with bergamot essential oil added to it, so you know what bergamot smells like if you've smelled and enjoy Earl Grey tea. Black pepper is something that, of course, is used in home fragrance, but especially in body fragrance, primarily for men. There's pink peppercorn, there's white peppercorn, there's black peppercorn. It's a very nice combination. There actually have some colognes that are a combination of peppers and citruses that, it's funny, I was layering the other day and I was like, oh, I've kind of made a layer of two different fragrances, and I made my own black pepper bergamot cologne, kind of was a bit funny. But you see peppercorn everywhere, and it's a really nice scent that's not your sort of heavy, musky. It doesn't lean towards the cloying or powdery sandalwood. It's got a hit of spice to it, but not overwhelming generally, I think. But anyhow, when we saw it in this passion, then the notes on the bottom here just said heightened desire with a spicy blend of bergamot, black pepper, and rose. So they said rose was added to it, which it's the only time they ever said rose, but again, it could, if it's a really true conceptual scent, it could have, you know, 8 or 10 notes in it. So there could be a tiny bit of rose in there, but no one would ever smell this and say, oh, it smells like roses. And then finally, and I'm going to do an in-depth sniff sort of comparison between the original and the newest. Or actually, I shouldn't say finally. When it came out in 2012 and 13, they sort of added another note to the description, which at that point, let's see here, I believe they said intricate layers of spicy black pepper combined with uplifting bergamot and lavender in a fragrance inspired by fall's changeable days. 2012, that's when they started making the conceptuals a little bit more, you know, it could be a year-round scent, but they're going to make you think that it's something for the fall or make it something for the spring just based on what they're saying in it. You know, fall's first days, spring's final days, whatever. But so they also noted that there was lavender in there, which does make sense to me. Black pepper bergamot, citrus, lavender, sort of herbal floral blends beautifully together. It makes a lot of sense. Those would be in the same notes. And then this one here, the latest, this is again the White Barn, kind of that core collection that it's not cohesive, it's just a random mix of scents, but it's kind of nice because things like this can come back. And it's white wax and just that really kind of pretty, totally random color glass there. And with that, they just said, bring home a lavish blend of bergamot leaves, black peppercorns, and soft lavender. So they're still saying, again, it's lavender, peppercorn, and bergamot leaves. Interesting to say bergamot leaves and not bergamot oil, because I believe that there's a difference. For instance, something like neroli is an orange blossom from the neroli tree, flower, plant, whatever. Whereas I thought that bergamot was always the oil sort of from the peel of the fruit itself, but they're saying here bergamot leaves. Maybe it's 6 of one, half dozen the other, I don't know. But let me do the original sniff on it, and then we'll compare it to the newest one. No need to make this super, super long video, but so we got the original here, the Black Pepper Bergamot, and boy, it's so hard to describe. This is one where it kind of is more about moods, almost than, say, actual things you can pick out from it. Because it doesn't smell like Earl Grey tea, so forget that, but you've smelled bergamot in many candles before. If you can kind of identify that base note, or really the top note, in different candles or even in perfumes and colognes, you'll recognize it there. It's that bright, intense, deep citrus. It's not juicy, it's not fruity, it has that very sharp, slightly kind of sweet, boozy, very, very top brightness to it. And then so that's absolutely there, but then you move into, I think the patchouli is definitely still there in the base, but not the like stoner sort of patchouli, but just a slightly earthy base, not overly musky, not powdery, not too heavy like say a cedar wood or an oak where it's just gonna like hit you in the face and overpower you. The patchouli is earthy, and it mixes nicely with the spiciness of the black peppercorn, and spicy the way that like Shiraz wine is spicy, not spicy like hot jalapeno spicy, just like a little pop, a little kick. And I don't really get a ton of the lavender there. It's definitely, if it's there, it's blended in very nicely. I think it probably does add something beautiful to the scent, but you're not going to smell this and instantly say, oh, there's lavender in that. But again, it just adds another layer of complexity to maybe like sort of that like slight powder astringency note that may be in here. But for me, this was just like, it was always very, very strong. It was borderline overpowering, but I don't mind that. You can see the burn here. It burned down beautifully, perfectly even pool. We're talking, 4 years ago, so who knows at this point. But really through really, really well. And for me, it was just like, it was, you can call it cologne-y, but it was really just about the beautiful intensity. Like, it gave you the mood to your home of sort of kind of just upscale, soothing but intriguing. I would say really borderline aromatherapy. If they wanted to say pepper citrus aromatherapy, this could totally be within there, where it's sort of uplifting but stress relief as well. That's sort of how I saw it. They say here passion, so maybe it would be in a passion line. But just one of the best they've ever made. They've done lots of different things, flannel, black tie. Those are all sort of conceptuals along the same like family as something like Black Pepper Bergamot, but to me they totally just pale in comparison to the uniqueness and just the power and the just kind of deliciousness of Black Pepper Bergamot. So the fact that it came back, clearly I've got a stockpile. I think I've maybe one more than this, so I wasn't heartbroken that it hadn't been out for a year or two, because I've got a couple that I can burn through. But it was getting to the point where let's hope that something comes out with it, and they did. So here we are now. A lot of times, they'll bring back something, they'll rename it something else, but it's still your original scent, or they'll come back with a name, you'll sniff it, and that is not the candle that you knew 3-4 years ago. In this case, happily reporting that this is sort of the true Black Pepper and Bergamot. But it's a little bit different. And I think that sort of the folks who I sort of follow and respect in reviews have kind of all said the same story, where it's the same thing for the folks who enjoy it or smell it, or certainly Bronze Blogger, as it's his, his bae, his number one. It's at its core, this is still Black Pepper Bergamot. It's still the same fragrances. It hasn't really been tweaked or changed, but it smells a little bit different. And it just seems, is it that has the formulation changed to the wax? Have they moved on to a different supplier of oils? Do they make their own oils? They never talk about their oils. They're likely all synthetic, but they never sort of go deeper into the art of their candle blending. Just that it's, you know, whatever highest concentration of rich fragrance oils, which that could be on a Walmart candle. Who knows? But it makes you wonder, like, did the formula change, or are they just using different quality of oils or different formulations where they're using less to make it, you know, they're cutting costs and making it a little bit weaker, and people seem to like it as much or better because then they're not overpowered by a cologne candle, and they're, you know, using the same amount of oils for 10,000 candles that they used to for, you know, 1,500. Who knows? But it's definitely lighter. When you compare it to, say, like, let's go back to the Mac Daddy here, the original, and comparing. Now, granted, this is 4 years old. Sometimes that makes things intensify. Sometimes it makes them weaken. This one actually, it's funny. I feel like that the top layer of that, like the lid, has absorbed other candles' scent. But if I go to this one that I burned not too long ago, it still has like sort of the most fresh scent in it. Strong. It's just so strong. With your pepper, with your citrus, and your other sort of patchouli and base layers. And this one just, it leans a little, it's certainly weaker, and I would just lean, it's a little weaker, milder, kind of lighter. Almost, I'd say, like, there's less of that patchouli and the richness that you'd get in the base before. And it's almost like they took that out, which again, I don't think they really did, but they could have tweaked it just enough where, like, the core pepper, bergamot, lavender is still there, but maybe less of that sort of patchouli and the earthiness. Because it feels a little more soapy, a little more approachable, a little more border, not feminine, but a little more approachable to ladies who don't like the cologne scents. Whereas this, you're getting right into it, and you know this is like, you know, you're matching Fireside with that. Whereas this is matching more like your Sparkling Icicles, Paris Daydream sort of light day intensity, versus this is like, this could go all night kind of thing. So love it. Still, I haven't burned it yet. I'm not sure what the performance is like, or if it does go intense once you burn it. It'll probably be a while. In my case, like, I may try it just to see how it is, and if it is good, pick a couple up when there is a 2 for $24 sale. Until then, I'm still happy with my sort of original collection here of the Black Pepper Bergamots. But please do check it out if you're near White Barn. To me, this is worth going to. Like, if, you know, you don't go because your White Barn is, as they're popping up more and more around the country, if it's, you know, 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half away. If there's other stuff that you want to get, it's worth going for that, in my opinion. I shouldn't say that because I don't want them to disappear from the shelves, but it really is, again, it's, for me, top 10, and you know that I'm nutso with these stupid candles. So it really is one of the best, and continues to be released as a solid, substantial blend. So that's about it for that. I'm coming up soon, hopefully, with another review, comparison of the sort of Happy Easter Cotton Candy Marshmallow that is out this year, that's been out for the past couple of years. Let me know what you think of this. If you love Black Pepper Bergamot, follow me over at facebook.com/TouchTheFireTwice. Check out my other channel that I do with my husband, The Gentleman Next Door. Lots of fun stuff going on over there as well. And that's just thegentlemannextdoor.com or facebook.com/thegentlemannextdoor, youtube.com/ blah, 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 all that stuff. And that's about it for now. And until next time, take care, guys. Bye-bye.